Hey, what's up, fellas? Morning. Let us see what plays out today. Go ahead and just run through kind of what's taking place since we left yesterday. In that recap video, we mentioned as long as we're above this daily volume imbalance, we'd look for higher prices. Right, we had wanted this buy side first. So you see that we actually hit it shallowly. And then here in London, we've actually come out to clear that rather significantly. Right, notice how after clearing this buy side, however, so 15-minute time frame, right, we clear the buy side, we retrace back into the actual fair value gap here. That was paired with the daily volume imbalance. Bounce from there again, and now, right, we've continued to trend higher. So really, I'd want to see if, let's see, 15. Well, I'd just be interested to see if price doesn't want to continue to fill in some inefficiencies here on the way up. So depending on how, right, the 9:30 opening plays out, of course. So what I'm doing here is just labeling out discounts, right? Potential future discounts if we start retracing here at 9:30. But really, right, low, high, lower, low, broken. These last up close candles we could kind of see as the breaker. 5 minute. 1 minute. Right now we're playing inside of this fair value gap. So I'd be interested, right, 30 seconds till opening. Do we want to attack through this, right? Get back into the volume imbalance here? Or do we still have interest in this buy side up top? So 9:30. Let's see if we can't get I'd prefer us kind of push up and through all of this. And look at all these highs here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 equal highs underneath the fair value gap. We're holding this one pretty nice. See if we can get up and through this. And remember, fellas, CPI tomorrow, no high impact news today. So I'm not really expecting a real trending day. Right, kind of expecting more like yesterday's price action, a little choppy. But we'll see what we get here this morning. Right, so there's that delivery into the fair value gap. Right, I kind of would see this as the Judas swing, potentially. So from here, if this is the Judas swing into this fair value gap, we'll see if this becomes inversion now, especially because we've closed below it with this candle. Does even matter? just choppy opening. Let it play out a little bit. See what we're working with. Peep some other instruments here. NQ dollar also selling off. Right, we're hesitating here just because, right, fair value gap, inversion fair value gap, volume imbalance, volume imbalance, volume imbalance. Right, so we're gonna have a lot of PD arrays just to grudge and fight through here, especially if we don't really have a strong objective, right, with it being the Tuesday prior to CPI. Price may just aim wondrously between all these PD arrays, which is when we get just those consolidation environments, right, seek and destroy. As of now, just using this volume imbalance. So closing above, see if we don't want to continue pressing higher. Hey. So I'm aiming for, I want to see if we can't get to the high of this 15-minute fair value gap here. Equal highs resting here. I have one entry coming off of this volume imbalance. Like this. Actually got in at the high of it here. So right as we broke above this fair value gap, I entered on the re-entry of the basically inversion paired with this volume imbalance. At this point, my stop's already at break even. Just because I don't want to really deal with a choppy morning, right? Especially if we're creating equal highs here. I kind of wanted a clean run into that. Equal highs. If we do come out to run this, right, and consolidate, I'll still really look to see if we can't get back up there, especially because we created perfectly equal highs here. Let's see what NQ has. Just so he's got. Stop loss is moved below this candle swing point once this candle closes. Cool. Nice. So stop and profit now. And this will just be a full pull, so no partials. That's what either I get fully targeted at the high of the 15, or we get stopped with basically cost covered, right? So risk-free trade. As always, I love it. So I would favor higher prices, and that's just because, so last premium here, prior to buy side, right? Notice that the first time we only wick, well, this candle's actually closed above it. So now we should be able to find support here, which will send us into that buy side. So if this candle, let's see, 12 seconds, we've just cleared buy side. If this candle closes, my stop's gonna go under that candle's swing point. So stop loss is now moved here. We're actually gonna move final TP. Oh, never mind. Too late. Okay. Well, I'm fine with that, content. So right, broke through the buy side, closed above, created volume imbalance. What did we do first? We came back down to tap the close, and then we delivered into the high. So I get out right at the high, and then look at that. Come back for the stop. So beautiful. Random exit up at the high. Cool. Honestly, I'm done for the day, fellas. But we'll chill out. We'll see what else plays out. Look for this low, right? We were speaking of that seek and destroy potential environment. So we just cleared buy side. We hit really the 15-minute inefficiency I'm looking for. So now, especially if we get back under 830, now I would look for these discounts here. And just quick to see, let me go ahead and maybe, hello. Cool. All right, so got in at the first tap, volume imbalance. And again, when this candle closes above, right, I closed some here inside of this 15-minute because I was a little, right, just unsure of direction. But when we close above on this candle, right, then I talk about re-entering here on this volume imbalance. Right, so as this became an inversion level, right, we trade back down into it, enter there, and then we exit right at the high. And look at that reaction. Very random. Sorry, I didn't change the screen for my Zoom, folks. Oh, look at that. So now, right, we get what we're expecting. We deliver into all of the discounts and we hit that midnight level. Not only that, let me drag out the daily volume imbalance. Hello. Look at that. So now we can, right now we can go. There you go. So now, got to be a little wary. Daily volume imbalance. We're holding the midnight level, right? If this candle would have closed, if this or this candle would have closed under midnight, I would be looking for this volume imbalance to continue to deliver us lower. But the fact that we have not closed, we simply wick the midnight and notice the candle body is holding, right? This is when I can kind of not classify this, I guess, as a volume imbalance that I would look to short. So I will be watching really this fair value gap. Actually, let's see, we just put in the swing low. Yeah, my interest lies in this fair value gap here, actually. Sense. So just waiting here. All right, if we close, let's see, in my opinion here, if we go with, oh, lost track. If we close above consequent encroachment, then we'll look for 830 to be revisited. Because really I'm looking at this high, low, higher high, broken with displacement, last down close candle breaker. Right, so I'm saying I would prefer, if we're gonna trade lower, right, notice how we're creating equal highs here now. So if anything, run up into the breaker, consequent encroachment of this fair value gap, and then reverse. Right, if we hold this as support and trade up and through this, through the breaker, then we'll probably just continue kind of that seek and destroy, and we may revisit just back into this, what is it, the 15-minute fair value gap? Yep, the 15. Tough fill, tough fill. Oof. 44.51. That's a fact. Scammed. Was this 3 drives into Civi? Was this at 3 drives into Civi? Then fall down. Yeah, you can say that. But I mean, one. Honestly, Mike, this might be, I mean, on a lower time frame, we probably could have. Let's see. Yeah, we could say that. Not as clean, because we had equal lows, but honestly, that makes it a little cleaner. 1, 2. Right, we have equal lows here, 3, really 4 even. We could probably even go 1, 2. I prefer that the lows aren't equal like this. But in this instance, that's actually all right, because it gave us kind of a sell side target to aim for. So I can see it as 1, equal lows, 2, higher swing low, right up to the 3rd there. And now we get that reversal. Bruh, who is that? Gotta mute somebody. But yeah, that would have been valid 3 drives actually. Engineering equal lows, right, to be attacked with this sell side here. That was nice. What about equal lows? Left 44, 48. Equal lows. 4, 4, 4, 8. I'm blind. GT, are you saying these lows here? Which equal lows here in this area are we referring to? Unless you're referring to like the 1 minute. But if you're referring to like these 2 candles, I wouldn't necessarily, I mean, we could revisit these, but this doesn't really hold weight as equal lows in my mind. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't really, I mean, they are equal lows, but right, I'm not seeing this as kind of liquidity. I'm seeing this as more of us respecting this 15-minute fair value gap. So honestly, if my interest in shorts would be kind of this zone here. So we get that return into the breaker. Let's see what takes place now. So we're in here like this. This here is just causing me a lot of hesitation. I'm actually gonna adjust the stop to really just above this, so 2 handles. Because right, we could still completely take this out. As I said, I like the breaker. But I wouldn't even want consequent encroachment of this fair value gap breached. Right, which is why I'm okay really having the stop here. Because if we get above consequent encroachment, it's like closing above that, I don't really have an interest to be in. Beautiful. If this candle can close under the 15, I'm actually going to move my stop early here. Beautiful. With the volume, okay, yeah. So stop is now above this swing point. Nice. So consequent encroachment, oops, of this wick right here, shit, is actually 5 handles from my entry. So if we can get here, right, we'll close most of it. At this point, basically at break even. 44.51 entry, stop 44.51.25. Not a fan of this, right? Not a fan of midnight supporting price like that, especially if this candle gets back above the 15-minute. If this candle closes above the 15 before, or like say this completely runs and stops me out, that's fine. But if this closes above this 15, I'm going to trim some of the position off of it. So we're opening with the bearish volume imbalance. It's nice. I've trimmed some of the position, however, in profit. So now, right, if I get stopped with this one tick, basically break even, slightly covered cost. And right, I'm doing that because at this point, right, entering on this breaker, I would not want this 15-minute to be right traded above again. So as I often say, if things are basically playing out as I don't want to see them, I have no issue acting on that. Cool. All right, so there we go. So on this one, right, broke even. Still gonna watch consequent encroachment here. So notice how we close above consequent encroachment. All right, so now we're gonna wanna watch and see what plays out after closing above. right? Usually what we would expect if we're going to close above consequent encroachment, that we may revisit the actual high of the fair value gap here. Should be important to note, right? We have one kind of thing in our favor, and that's the fact that this breaker is here still. So if I took the midpoint of the breaker, right, even if, let's see what the body is. If I went straight body, even body, body to low. So really this, the open to low of the breaker is kind of that last line of defense to me. So notice this, right? This is the only discount here, the only fair value gap. So if we can close underneath this, we should start to be able to visit here. But right at the same time, what is this little framework? Well, short-term low cleared, broken, right? Market structure shift. So bullish YouTube model, bearish breaker block. I prefer the breaker block to hold over the YouTube model. Oof, not a fan of that. So notice how we close consequent encroachment, open with a bullish volume imbalance on the 15-minute perfectly. So what I would need to see for me is this to close in. I don't want this to remain open. Can you show the YouTube model? Yeah, there's two different ones. Short-term low cleared, market structure shift, bullish fair value gap. Already traded underneath. I like that, so we should go lower. But the bearish setup I'm talking about, high, low, higher high, broken with displacement. Down close candle here is our breaker block. Nice. So see if we can't gravitate for that low now. All right, so we're here. Have one more position. At this point, my stop is going to be really just above break even. It's still with that same logic, right? The fact that we're closing underneath the 15-minute, I don't want to see us keep visiting that. And I'm actually going to go break even. Because we've hit the 5-handle target of this consequent encroachment equilibrium. Yeah, so we'll leave it in this here. Right, stop and profit, TP. Oh, my bad. We back. No problem, Tamika. But what's taking place in here, this is like a fractal I seek and destroy. Really. I'm gonna go ahead and move my stop just above this candle here. So stop loss is above this candle now. Especially if we can close underneath, right? Because we're hitting that consequent encroachment again. Yeah, so we're moving the stop. Oh, we've tapped our beautiful. And there is our exit. Nice. another one. So that idea pans out. Cool. Don't forget for the zoom, you guys can't see. Just to show you guys quickly. All right, so that one, I mean, that was a pretty obvious clean entry. This really was, nah, not the silver bullet, only 940. Right, entered on as we run the short-term high. Into the breaker. Delivery into sell side. Clean. Bearish breaker versus bullish U. See, so SW, as I was saying, this, I'm not favoring this. This YouTube model to me is fake. Right, it's that kind of the false setups that we speak of. Which is why I was favoring the lower prices, obviously, as you see. Right, so I'm entering on, right? So instead of seeing this as a market structure shift, I'm entering as a turtle soup entry. So I'm turtle souping this high, entering there, understanding, right, and looking for this fair value gap to actually be traded through. So as soon as we see, like this, let me move that, right? So as soon as we see this fair value gap here, get traded through on this candle, basically confirming our idea that we're right. And that's why you see, right, inversion. We come back up into it. I mean, if I was to drag out, like, let me go ahead and move it back to the other screen quickly. 1 second, 1 second. Let's go here, let's go here. Cool. So if I was to drag out consequent encroachment of this fair value gap, I bet you the bodies are holding that level perfect. Yep. And so after a while, you just start to kind of expect this stuff. What is this here? 15? I still think, let's see where we are at now. 15-minute. I want to see how this 15-minute candle closes. At this point, Matt, I don't know if I'm fully confident in seeing London's low hit yet. Because that means we would have to get back underneath this daily volume imbalance. And I'm not sure if we would want to do that today. Right, maybe in the future, but as far as today, with CPI tomorrow, we may want to kind of leave this low in place to attack it tomorrow. Could be wrong though, we'll have to see kind of what continues to play out. If we close underneath consequent encroachment, that's kind of what will be the telltale for me. So let me pull that back up here. Right, as long as we're holding consequent encroachment, we can bounce from this fair value gap. But if we're going to start closing underneath, especially closing under the old low as well, then we may actually gravitate for the low of the fair value gap. And then this is kind of external range liquidity. So this would be low of day here. Hey Shadow, sorry, did you take it? Yep, short here, breaker, total soup, fair value gap. Also took a long fair value gap, volume imbalance, inversion fair value gap up into buy side. So two separate ones this morning. A little 2 for 2 action. First one here. Second one here. Look at that. So this was my afternoon, or my morning, excuse me, here. Had one actually here, broken even. I guess I'm kind of excusing that one. Tried getting in early, right, move stop, was taken out at break even, got back in as we cleared it again to run lower. Which I guess I could share. Let me see if I could share on. I'll throw it up there with the actual executions as well so you could see a little better. Oh, I gotta change. So you see this first one here on the fair value gap, volume imbalance. Parceling as we're hitting this higher time frame fair value gap, right? Don't want to be caught in that morning chop. Once we kind of confirm higher prices. So for me, confirming higher prices is this candle closing above the inversion as well as the volume imbalance. So I go back in on the volume imbalance and then we get out high of the morning so far. So beautiful exit. I mean, look at that, right? Literally the swing point, huge displacement. Now we get the obvious YouTube model breaker formation forming, right, for lower prices. So now we can capitalize on that as we turtle soup, run back into the breaker, enter on that, and as we said, just get in out at the volume imbalance, sell side, one or the 15-minute fair value gap as well. It's not a bad morning. They're running away, it's easy. So back into the midnight and it's just the high, yeah. So we're at the high of the daily volume imbalance. We'll watch this, see how this pair reacts. But I was just saying, Matt, too, right? Just kind of expand on it. I would not be surprised at all to see price reverse here and return into this range. At least equilibrium. Now, as we were explaining, that consequent encroachment still holds us. So as long as that consequent encroachment could hold, higher prices was going to be expected. And you see we get close, but right, we don't even touch it. So we touch it here on this one, don't even touch it. Pretty significant SMT here between ES and NQ as well, but we'll have to see how that plays out. So for me, right, I would want, like, if we're gonna attack this high now, equilibrium, I would want to see this become a breakaway gap. If we're gonna use a fair value gap, right, I would prefer this one only. Bounce from here to deliver higher, leave this one open. Honestly, I would want this one now, at this point, to become a breakaway gap as well, with how aggressive we're moving. Yeah, personally, I would, if we're gonna run higher now, I would suspect that we use this inversion. So both of these will become breakaways. We might not even revisit any of these fair value gaps here. And right, that's because it's not going to want to give anybody an opportunity to ride this back up, in my mind. Right, so people that were short here, say someone got short here, right, and here as well, we're going to want to punish those stops. And if we want to do that, right, where would the stops be resting? Well, here, buy side. And if we're going to want to really punish these people holding stops still, it's going to want to attack those rather quickly, right? Squeeze them out, not give them a chance to really think about it, to move their stops. And if that's the case, we would now expect, especially because this fair value gap got left open. Yeah. So notice that perfectly with the 15, not random. So as I said, if we are going to hit this buy side, right, this here should become a breakaway gap, as well as this lower one here. We should not revisit any of these. So back inside, right, the fair value gap. As we're saying, this is the one I would want to hold here. So I'd want to see price find support, not revisit this, right? Not revisit lower than the midnight, not revisit lower than the daily volume imbalance level, and just run for that buy side now. So I'll just label because I would want these to remain open. Hello, bottom. There it is. Right, so I would prefer these two remain open, especially with this candle's wick, how we've wicked into the fair value gap we were looking for, right? 15. Look at the delivery there. So we wick outside of the 1 minute, but what is the wick hitting? The 15-minute low perfectly. This would be like a paper trade I took. Right, because this would be a setup I like, but having 2 winners this morning. Right, just got to follow my rules, be disciplined. No need to continue to push. So just tape reading this here. Right, which is why I was kind of framing out a potential setup. But from here, even if I was using consequent encroachment, right, I'd have to get back to 830 to get 5 handles, which could still be possible, but the risk to reward was a little low. That was like the original 2.5, which isn't bad, but I kind of like 3. Hey. Bearish volume imbalance. This will be telling for us. We're hitting the breaker again. If this closes in, should hit buy side easy. Equal highs like we've come to expect. Can you talk about that 1023, how to use it? I mean, I guess, yeah, so this is like my entry for the paper trade, right? But I'm entering here, 2 things. I guess I'll give you the entry reason. Why am I entering here and I'm not expecting these to fill in, right? Obviously before that buy side. It's because we're breaking back above the midnight level. So as I often say, that's kind of a flip point for me. Seeing this candle close above, and then especially this candle push up and through, right? This 15-minute fair value gap that we've been using so far this morning, that right there is, someone said yesterday, right? We're closing the door on any now attempts to return into these fair value gaps. So any opportunity we had to return into, right? That door gets closed as soon as we push above and close above this 15-minute. It's really solidified, right? We're locking that door behind us when we create the new fair value gap aligned with it. So as I said, this here not random, right? When you can spot these signatures, I mean, it's just very easy to understand what's going to take place. And as we said, right, we're holding this inversion, body's telling the story, but we're wicking lower. So this wick is simply to reprice into, right, the 15-minute fair value gap, the 1-minute fair value gap, really even. Let me pull out the volume imbalance. Notice that, right? The volume imbalance. But how you could use it per sense and say, right, as far as after you enter now, how do we utilize a wick like this? For me, I would take consequent encroachment of this wick. And right, and if I'm wanting to see higher prices, I don't want the candles to close back below the consequent encroachment now of this wick. So if I see candles start closing below, right, in my mind, it just means that we're going to probably revisit its low. Good question as to why I picked that one, trader. So right, I actually had them both marked out this morning. If we kind of look at the live stream, I had this one as well, but I'm using this one because this is the one that offers us initial support, right? So this is the one that's used in the original setup to send us into this buy side and into the higher time frame fair value gap. Or like if I drag it here, you see how we break up and through it, candle bodies, and use it beautifully and we deliver higher. So now on the downside, right, this is going to be one that's significant to me because it was used as a discount first. So when I see price now disrespect it, right, and trade lower, trade underneath it, right, we used it to go short, but in the same sense, right, it's kind of that flip point for me. So I'm continuing to see what price does around this level because it's a sensitive level and price is going to continue to use it. And that's why when I saw this 1 minute candle push back up and through this specific 15-minute fair value gap, that right there is important to me. And you'll see how we're still now holding this little baby inversion, right? We're wicking lower. Like for me, because I don't even want to see this wick visited, I prefer no bodies close below the consequent, or not consequent encroachment, but below this inversion here. So we can keep wicking like we are, right? As much as that's kind of ugly delivery, that's okay for me, as long as bodies hold above this like we are. Right, because if we start getting now bodies below this, we're going to start probably gravitating towards the consequent encroachment here. Tap to equal. Yep, brisket. But we've gotten used to this, right? We've seen this play out many times. 10:03 candle could be used as breaker. 10:03. Yeah. Yeah, I can. This is valid. Robo. I mean, in all reality, I would prefer this candle's consequent encroachment even hold as well. Like this. Because if we start closing below this, right, we're going to close below this, which means, as we're saying, we're probably going to start gravitating towards this. So I'm liking how we're closing, but this I'm not a fan of at all. The volume imbalance into, especially if now we close underneath. Yeah, right, there we go. Still have a chance here though. So I need to see how the candle itself closes here. Yeah. So we're gonna gravitate back towards these. So notice that the equilibrium of this low to high is the daily volume imbalance perfectly here, actually. So what I would really expect is I think that we're going to use this volume imbalance here as resistance. If we can get back above it, right, we'll still have a chance to get into this buy side, these equal highs. That'll be nice. But if we're going to start hesitating here, then we may actually start revisiting this low. Right, I wasn't a fan of how that wick closes, but on a 2 minute, you see we're still respecting it. So I'm okay with this, especially because the 2 minutes is going to close here. So this is where it's a little bit of a right trader discretion, because I don't want to be. I'm not fully stuck on the 1 minute, right? I have other time frames up. So as much as this was unfavorable, we're simply hitting that 15-minute fair value gap again. Same with this one. This will be another key area, right? See if we, once we get back above this inversion, if we hold that again, paired with the volume imbalance. And if we're gonna attack buy side, it really should be here within these next 2 candles, I would say. Especially if this candle closes above this candle's close here. The next candle should reach into this, the next 2 candles, in my opinion. Especially if this can remain with the volume imbalance, because it opened with the volume imbalance, but it looks like it's actually going to close in, which will kind of negate our idea. 2, 1. Okay, so it closes in, negates the whole idea. This one's still valid though, so still wanting to see price remain above inversion here. Can you show the daily volume imbalance? Yeah, there it is. No, I'm just kidding you. I'll show you actually. It's right, this set here is the lower set. And then this set here is the current set that I have on. Right, if you see that like that. So then when I go to load time frames, right, this is that lower set you just saw. So older, and then this is the newer set here. So like we said, next 2 candles should deliver. So this candle should hit our buy side. Let's see if we can't. No, new traders cannot, Alex. I'm telling you that from experience, brother. I mean, ask yourself that. Be honest with yourself. If you were entering a position here, right, and you saw all this nonsense, are you comfortable holding that? Fully confident that it's going to go where you expect it to go? I think if we're honest, it'd be nah. Right? Because I know that's how it was for me. Early on, when I didn't really understand, right, high resistance liquidity run conditions when they can present themselves, or the signatures, I'd run into those, right, and it would just cause me so much stress, anxiety, just drain that mental capital. Especially something like this, right? Imagine you did have your target here at this high. You see price kiss it. As soon as we retrace, you're panicking, full panic. Right, you're probably closing here, you're probably losing your mind. Whereas we understand, sure, it's ugly delivery, but as long as our discounts are holding, right, 15-minute, this wick, we still expect buy side to be hit. As a new trader, I've gotten lots wrong. Hey, that's all right, Brisket. We're learning, brother. And even with me here, right, explaining what I think, you're still going to have failures. You're still going to have to go through it yourself. And that's one thing that Michael always preached that, and I never really understood until, right, I did it. And I hate to say that because it's so cliche. But it's like, until you go through it, you don't necessarily understand it. Like, until I was fully confident in my own ability, like, I'm not able to explain what that feeling is to someone unless they're at that same level, if you know what I mean. There we go. So buy side finally gets hit. 1 minute too late. And damn price, 1040 exactly. So real clean morning so far. Not clean in delivery, clean in, I mean, I guess clean in delivery. I don't know. Easy to read, I feel like. Mistakes will make you better, facts. Hey, good to hear, DC. Glad you're seeing it. 1034, 1035 candles. Yup. That delivery there, beautiful. Right, consequent encroachment is such a huge concept to understand because it really can just give you a forecast of what's gonna take place. Like if we start closing above or below consequent encroachment levels, it's very telling. Will hitting a breaker will also creating a breaker be? That's why it could be a little lower probability, and we're right at equilibrium of this range as well. High to low, right above equilibrium, we're playing around that. Like if I show you a 5 minute high, low, higher, high, broken breaker, low, high, lower, low, potentially broken now. This break is obviously cleaner, right? That's true displacement with the fair value gap, whereas this necessarily isn't, right? No displacement as we run this high. So really, yeah, this still has the potential to hold us and offer us another leg lower. Especially if I were to see us put in some type of bearish framework now, so like clear a short-term high, like let's add a future scenario. Say we run this high, return into the 830 or even this little inefficiency, and then break structure. I would trust that to go lower, because right on this higher time frame, we will have returned into this fair value gap YouTube model, while also running out buy side. So it makes sense. Especially because, right, notice we have a fair value gap here paired with this midnight level. So say that we want to just consolidate here, right? Continue to consolidate around midnight. Well, eventually price is going to want to come back towards that. So if we have an inefficiency resting there already, and notice what else is there? The daily volume imbalance. So a lot of key levels that could draw price into that if we do want to reverse from here now. But this 830 level will pretty telling for me. If we blast up and through it, I think we may revisit buy side here. So we'll stick around a few more minutes and see how the morning wraps up. So if we are going to go higher, right, two scenarios, what we would want to see is either a fair value gap get created here, or this candle just actually respect this volume imbalance right now. So trade lower but wick and actually close above it. right? Because we had a bullish volume balance, but we closed that in, and notice we closed right on that 830 level, back underneath the volume balance as well. So another candle closes right on that 830. Right after, like we said, if we're gonna go higher, we would want to see a fair value gap formed here. We form it, we use it. So now we would want to see this candle close back above this volume imbalance. I have a position here. This will be my last position of the day. I'll be quick to manage it. So I got in right on the 830. If this candle closes above this candle, my stop will get moved immediately here. So it was underneath consequent encroachment. At this point, it's underneath this swing point here. Especially because we've hit this 1 minute perfectly, and we've opened with a volume imbalance. So if we are gonna go higher, I would want this to remain open, or else we're gonna probably create the same thing we had here, right? Because we created a bullish volume imbalance but closed it in. So I'm thinking, if we're gonna do the same thing, I just don't want to be in the trade any longer. I don't think we'll take London's low today. Not today. I mean, maybe if we take this high first. Having a mentor is so important. Nah, I'm no mentor, brother. Just a guy. Just a guy reading the market, that's all. What's the significance of the 830 level? The 830 level is the power of 3 for the morning session. So where the midnight level is key for the daily range, the 830 level is key for the morning session range. That is something that is covered mostly in the 22 YouTube mentorship. Nice, so 5 minutes open with the volume imbalance as well, with closing above the 5 minute fair value gap. 5 minute has closed above 830, so the 5 minute looks poised to run higher, which is what we want, right? That'll support our lower time frame. 5 minute has just confirmed a volume imbalance. Here, there's a 5 minute volume imbalance right here. So I'm gonna keep that up. Is this being recorded? Yes, it is. We're gonna go ahead and trim the stop just a little bit to 44.53 exact. That'll put me under consequent encroachment of this wick. Still underneath the 1 minute fair value gap as well. And because we have now, right, this volume imbalance as well as the 5 minute, I wouldn't want those breached, which is why I'm okay moving up that stop loss. Stop loss is right. So I've actually closed one contract, half of the position basically. Because I didn't want to see price close back below 830, so the fact that it did, gonna close, and there we go. So now we get stopped. But even then, right, I'm always protecting myself, even on my stop losses, never taking a full stop. Right, so the original setup was here. We immediately were able to cut our risk to here. And then as soon as this candle closes below, right, we're cutting risk again. So really, I mean, let's see what we took on that. That was like a 0.01 loss, so really nothing. And that is why I don't really care about losers. So I guess I don't talk about them enough. But that's really because I don't care about them, to be completely honest. Because I understand that even though I'm losing, right, my losses will never outweigh my winners. Especially with my money management system now. Like, I'm hardly ever taking a full stop out. So yeah, we'll go ahead and leave that be. Right, I was really using this because I just wanted to see if we can engage this with the silver bullet to see if this fair value gap would get us into buy side, but it did not. So we end the day with 2 dubs and 1 basically scratch. Almost 11. Yeah, I think we'll go ahead and start wrapping this one up, fellas. Shoot any questions y'all may have quickly. Let me start cleaning up some buy side. The 5 minute. Once price got to consequent encroachment. I mean, no, Tamika, I wouldn't say that. No, you shouldn't expect immediate reversals. I guess you could forecast for that, but like for me, I would still. So let me show you. So if we take consequent encroachment of this wick, right, it's this here. So we don't necessarily want to, I guess, let's say force, right, a reversal, but we want to see what price does when it gets to this point. So, right, that's why my exit was here. It's the 15-minute fair value gap, but it's also consequent encroachment of a daily wick. So when that happens, I'm then waiting to see what takes place at this consequent encroachment. So when we put in this pattern, right, if we put in a reversal pattern coming off of a daily consequent encroachment, then I'm okay to say, okay, we should start reversing. But just because this level's here, right, I'm not necessarily saying as soon as we hit this, we're going to reverse. I still need to see kind of a confirmation of that. Because we could easily, right, hesitate, push up and through it, and then I would use that consequent encroachment as support to trade higher up into that wick. No problem. So yeah, I would say you don't want to necessarily assume, but you could definitely use it as a confluence. To where if you are already forecasting, like, okay, I would prefer to see some type of, right, sell off from consequent encroachment, which is this level. So once you see this, right, bearish breaker be put in, you're really confident to trust in that breaker because it's coming off of a daily consequent encroachment level. How can you easily? Yeah, I just use the fib tool. That's pretty easy. I don't think you can make your own template, Alex. Like that's what I do. Like all of my consequent encroachment levels and everything, all my projections, midpoints, so they're just fibs that I template out. So like if I want consequent encroachment or like midpoint, I got that one. Or if I want the actual levels, I got that one. If I want like projections off of a swing point, right, I got this one. And then if I want the OTE, I got that one there. Could you have entered at 1036 as price? Oops, sorry, Kate, I missed you. 1036, 1036, 1036. Yeah, it's valid. Here. This is really an order block. Just missing one key component, right? If we would have had a fair value gap, it would have been that high probability. But still pretty clean. Clearing a short-term low, returning into a discount, no upwards wick, broken with a pretty aggressive up-close candle. So yeah, the order block / the volume imbalance level would have been clean to use. Like that. So I'm in here one more. I said last position last time, but I was capping. I like this. Got in right before basically my cutoff time at 11. I also got in on this 9 or 10:59 candle on this volume imbalance here. And my stop is under these swing points, so under the consequent encroachment of this fair value gap. And all right, just targeting the high of that 15-minute fair value gap again. So yeah, we'll see how this plays out, and then we'll go ahead and call it a day. Volume balance. Gonna go stop to break even right now with the creation of this new volume imbalance that was just printed here. Because if we close this in and revisit basically the low of the volume imbalance, I have no interest in even holding that. $44.59. Oof. What are we getting at? 44.25. Another one. That's nice. Yeah, so my stop right now is here. So stop loss here. Entry came right on the volume imbalance. And we're looking for, I mean, really buy side, but I'll close just on consequent encroachment there. So one tick underneath. Like what we would want to see here, right, is for this one to be used. So bodies hold this one. Right, so that's not good there. Right, so we would have wanted this to hold 5 minute, just returning into the OB, which will be okay. So for me, I would really need to hold from here, or else I'll be stopped out here in profit. Right, so we'd need this order block to hold. We've just created a bearish volume imbalance, which isn't too promising. If we can close that in, get back on track, back above, we may be good, but if we continue kind of how we are, probably get stopped out. There we go. So we're stopped. Managed to get one partial at this high, but it was two handles, so really nothing. Which is why I didn't even mention it. But yeah, we'll call that a day there. So yeah, we end up taking 1, 2, 3, 4. So basically 3 winners. I won't count this as a winner. It was above break even, but not really significant profit. 2 dubs, 1 baby dub, 1 break even, and 1 small cut this morning. Not too bad. And right, this is, even though we are going higher, still high resistance liquidity runs. Right, hesitation, even in the delivery higher. No inefficiencies, right? It's not running freely. A lot of give and take, give and take, give and take. Like it could still even hit that. I wouldn't be surprised to see that, to be honest. But if it does, it'll be without us this time. And I'm okay with that. But we will, let's see. Yeah, we'll wrap it up today. Good day for me. Hope you all found it helpful. CPI tomorrow, so we'll be on a little earlier just to see the actual rate announcement. So we'll get on at 8:30 Eastern instead of 9:30, so about an hour earlier. And then we will, yeah, we'll just watch really what plays out. I just like to kind of see the delivery, which liquidity, which side of the marketplace gets engaged during CPI. And then we'll probably end up like, I'm guessing we'll probably start it early in the morning, see how CPI first delivers, step away for about half an hour to an hour, and then come back later on in the morning once the price is kind of giving us more price action to actually work off of. If you guys are going to look for afternoon setups, I mean, I still prefer right buy side here, which is also the daily consequent encroachment. I don't think we would explore much higher than that, to be honest. But if we start kind of accelerating higher, we have another inefficiency here. I would expect something kind of like, if we even are to run this high, to where we run and either consolidate and just trade back into this range, or we run that high, right, turtle soup it, and kind of aggressively come back towards the midnight level here. Cool. We'll leave it at that. I'll make sure to get the recording uploaded whenever it's finished processing. And if you guys have no other questions, then we will go ahead and call it a day. Appreciate you guys hanging out this morning. Remember, we'll be on an hour earlier than normal tomorrow. I'll send a announcement just to remind you guys. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the morning. Until then, have a good rest of the day, and we will talk tomorrow.